Bueno, Bueno, disculpen que tengo que hacer esta presentación en inglés porque me faltan las palabras especiales para el testing. Pero después, si quieren hablar conmigo y hablan despacito, podemos hablar en español. So, I'm going to change in English. I'm terribly sorry I can't do this in Spanish. And I was asked to give a presentation about how to become successful in testing. Now, the easiest way, of course, would be to give you a list like step 1 to step 10, and then you're successful, and everyone knows you, and you're a celebrity in testing. But I was already presented, so here a quick other presentation as well. Is I call myself also as a cyborg-friendly humanist, because testing is the discipline that has many different aspects in it. There's a lot of technology, but it is built for humans, and I think we should never forget that software is built for the purpose of us humans, and we are a bit special. Humans are special. They're not like technology. They are not deterministic, and there are many effects that are very different. Good. As said, I'm also the president of the Greatest Quality Convention, which is a conference in Switzerland. Now, the reason I'm here is actually because of your alfajores and because of the asado. So that's the real reason. No, one of the main reasons here is also because I wanted to learn about the program at CES, which is absolutely unique in the world. It is not something that exists anywhere else on the planet that I'm aware of. So what education you have gone through, this is very, very special. So keep that in mind as well. Good. So, first of all, congratulations for your graduation. You have an official degree in testing, and you can say to people in the world that this is unique to Uruguay. So there is nothing else on the planet where people can go through a course and have a serious education in testing. It doesn't exist. There are just very small things in other parts of the planet. There are little courses, but there is not a long course that stretches in the course of 3 years. That is really special. Then, when you start working in testing, just keep in mind that you're working in one of the most important areas of humanity. Keep in mind that many of the systems today we humans depend on, and if they don't work, some very bad outcomes can happen, as we have seen in the presentations, especially in the first presentation, on the dangers of artificial intelligence systems and all the security issues that can happen in these areas. So keep in mind that this is really, really important what you're doing. And it's also very, very difficult. Now, this is the way that sometimes people who are successful want to tell you their story. So basically, it's a 3-step program. So they were born, and then they just made all the right decisions in their life, and that, of course, they made that because they were brilliant, and now they're crazy successful. So like Steve Jobs, he invented Apple, and then he was very successful. Or, I don't know, any other very famous person. That's what they want to see, and they explain the story afterwards, and then they pick what they think made them successful. But this is actually not true. The real life story of people is much more complicated, and it's not a straight line where you just advance on the steps of becoming successful. Sometimes you see that on LinkedIn pages where you have this stair, and then you're kind of really successful. So in my case, it looks like this, and I want you to focus on the red part. So like there's hippie, couldn't afford it, aborted study, I needed money, so I did testing only because I needed the money, and I was fired, and this is all sorts of things that happened in my life that were not so very successful. And the yellow part is just what I tried to do in between. I think if something happens to you where you are not successful right away, just keep in mind you're still young. And I still regard myself as young. I'm not old yet. But it's basically when something bad happens to you, it will be better later on. So don't worry about that. Good. I thought we could start with what is testing, and you see like a progress bar on top. So we start with a little bit about what testing is, or the way I see testing. Then I want to give you a couple of principles that I believe are valuable in your career. And then we go to actions. I also believe that there are some concrete actions that you can take that will enhance your probability that you're successful. We heard from Guillermo before that the difference between junior and senior, I think if I understood it correctly, was at the beginning you start just to follow with specific rules. So you just follow the rules without maybe understanding the rules. And then if you become more senior, what I think is then you start to understand the rules and the rules are reflected and you can pick actually the rules you're choosing. And then the next step, what I think would be that you have you have derived a couple of principles in your life and you're following those principles in an explicit way. And then maybe the most senior would be that if you're no longer aware why you do something, you just know that it is right. You have this intuition, and Guillermo also mentioned that you have this intuition that something is right. And I think this is something that you will experience in your career. At the beginning, it's perfectly fine to follow rules, and later on, maybe change that to principles. Good. So, what is testing in my view? This is, just check that it works. It's a simple job. Why would you need somebody who's specialized in testing? It's very easy to do. If the application should do A, you just check if it does A. If it does it, what's the big problem? Don't worry about it. But of course, that's not what it is. So my current definition has like 3 parts. The first part is that testing is the art of finding out what software can do. And I define it also as art because it is a little bit of an art. It's not only a specific process that you have to go through. And then you see where it fails, to do what it claims. So okay, find the areas where the software no longer does what it should be doing. And the third one that's also quite fascinating, and what else the product does that might be surprising. So is the software able to do something that's funny or something that's damaging to the company that nobody thought of? And at least in my view, I think the interesting bugs, they are covered in an area that nobody thought of. Yesterday I gave the workshop on testing, and I mentioned also the example where the F-16 simulator plane, when it flew over the equator, it just changed the plane on its back. And that was just an off by 1 error, and of course that shouldn't be in a commercial plane, that's for sure. Good. Now, what is a good tester? I think a good tester is somebody who understands the difference between algorithms and heuristics. So heuristics are the rules of thumb that you apply in order to find something interesting, but they don't always work. Heuristic approach to testing are super important to discover these surprising facts. Whereas if you apply automation or the more technical part of testing makes use of algorithms that have a clear expectation. Automated regression sets need to be programmed against a specific expectation that you have, and that is done algorithmically. But to me, good testing makes these two in a combination that is useful for the purpose that you're looking for. Then the explicit knowledge, this is the knowledge that you know the knowledge. That's what you find in a specification document. This is explicitly formalized in a document. That is the part that you use especially for your automated checks that you're implementing. Whereas like your tacit knowledge that you use is just you often discover that when it's violated. So when it's no longer true, then you discover that you actually had this tacit expectation. Now, test automation. At least in Europe, there is a lot of discussion, and they try to kind of divide testing into like the stupid manual testers and the engineering test automation parts. Also, in some companies, there are 2 departments. There's the manual testing department, and then there is the sophisticated automation department. I find this very damaging, especially the term that you call something manual tester. Manual tester has this connotation that it is unskilled and it's not very sophisticated. And so I find the term manual testing not very suitable for that. In the same vein, you could tell a developer, or ask a developer, so dear developer, who is a developer here? Developer, there's the developer. So dear developer, are you a manual developer or an automated developer? And then you could argue, well, you're a manual developer, you use your hands to write your code. But that's not the point. And so I think this also originates in something psychologically deeply rooted in humans that people want to have this polar view of things. It's black or white, it's big or small, it is rich or poor. So we try to categorize the world often in these polar opposites. And especially in testing, it doesn't make sense in most areas of humanity, but it doesn't make sense in testing at all. Because I think the better view on how you should watch or have a look at the testing is, what is the degree of human interaction with the product while testing? And so you can see it's a gradual thing. So you can have fully automated regression suites that run overnight, or you could have something where it's exploratory testing just really operating the keyboard. Or you could have some script usage in between, so it's not a pure thing. And you can also do exploratory testing using automation, so there's a lot of things. So this idea of automating everything is not what should be. Now, whenever I try to explain that in companies, some managers think, well, are you against automation? And I'm absolutely not. The company that I'm running, we are an engineering company. All our people are software engineers. So when I speak against the automation, it's not that I speak against automation, but the misuse of automation. And 100% automation is not what you want, because it's meaningless also. Windows Vista, that's where they, if some of you still remember Windows Vista, that's when they wanted to have 100% automation. And it was completely useless, of course. Yeah. So, one of the superpowers of humans is that we are capable to detect violations of implicit expectations. So what does that mean? We have a lot of expectations that we don't even know that we have. And when we are testing or when we conduct experiments with the software, it is when something goes wrong, we can detect that this is something that was not correct. In the moment it happens, but we could not have thought that this could even happen. And this is a superpower that humans have. Now, there is a good model that I can recommend everyone to have a look into, which is the Kinefin model by Dave Snowden. And it talks about the world, how it is ordered. So there is the ordered linear system, and then there's a complex nonlinear. Meaning that on the right, these are deterministic systems where you can approach the ongoing of a process analytically and give some idea of what is going to happen next. Whereas on the complex left side, these are systems that behave in a way that was not expected at all. So that is something, I will not go much deeper in that, but I can recommend to look into the complexity system of Dave Snowden. Good. Let's talk a little bit about coverage. You might be asked by management to give a test automation coverage percentage that you need to deliver. And if there is a demand by management, it's often 80%, because it's a feel-good number. 80% taps into the Pareto principle, so it's pretty good because 20% of the effort, you get 80% of the benefit from that. So in my consulting job, I often ask, okay, so automation, how do you organize that, and what do you want to achieve with that? And it's very often, surprisingly very often, 80%. That's what management wants to have. Now, if you have a report and you report some numbers, and then 80% is too round the number, so 82% is better, and then 82.3, that's even better. And this is the way to go, because now we have mathematics and you can't argue with precision. So if your test progress is 82.37%, then that's mathematics, you can't argue with it. Now, the problem with that number is that it replaces the being informed with the illusion of being informed, because there is a precise number. People start to think, oh, I'm super informed because I got 2 digits after the comma. And as a manager in a company, one of the problems is that you cannot be up to date with all the things that are happening, so your information level is always a little bit low, because you have to be up to date with so many things. So careful with that. This is also one of my sayings that I really like by Cam Kainer. So this is when we're testing, we're not talking about something we're doing with our hands, we're talking something about that we do with our head. So your head is your major tool that you use for testing when you do the so-called manual testing. And I would very much advocate against the use of the word manual testing. It has a connotation that's not very useful. Maybe some of you are also working as a quality assurance engineer. Like quality assurance is also one of those terms that's it's a bit problematic because it comes from the manufacturing world where you could actually assure quality by improving the steps, the micro steps for the product that you're producing. You cannot assure quality with software, so that's not possible. Now, this here certainly is the best definition that I'm aware of, or that's the one that I like most by Jerry Weinberg. And if you don't know Jerry Weinberg, I can highly recommend reading his books. So just if you don't know Jerry Weinberg, he was the first person who built a testing team in the Mercury space project that was in the early 60s. So he was the first person who actually built a testing team, Jerry Weinberg. And his definition is beautiful. It's just a tester is someone who knows that things can be different. The project is completely sure this is a very cool project, and the tester has doubt and understands that, well, maybe it's not the way that we claim it's going to be. Good. Let's go to principles. As I said, like principles I find are more useful to enhance your chance to become successful. If you just copy the career of somebody you know, then it will not develop in that. But I believe that if you follow a couple of principles, you enhance the chance that you will have success in the testing career. So, I mean, this is the one thing that I believe is the most important as a tester. As testers, we are professional learners. So what we do is we learn all the time. So we are professional epistemologists. So if you want to have a fancy title, you're an empirical epistemologist. So that's what you do. You do all the time, you learn new things because you have to understand the product that you're testing, and you have to come up with good ideas on how to test a product. So that's a super important part. Now, curiosity and creativity, I think the best way to learn that is with kids. So like curiosity is a good trait that kids have, and we start to lose when we become adults. I think you should always be curious, and if you see something interesting, not just walk on, but actually have a look, what is happening here? So as adults, we want to be professional, and so I think curiosity is something we should really, we should foster that. Then this is the attention to detail. So you're testing and you see something small, don't just move on because you're stressed, but the attention to detail and really focusing on what you're seeing there, I find quite important. Here, that is maybe the one area that is important because, so you can look at your work in this way. So you have a developer, and the developer developed his baby or her baby. It's kind of really, they really like what they have done. It's their baby, and they love their baby. And then you, as a tester, you come and you point at the baby. This baby is ugly. So, and that's a message that is not so nice to convey. So it's basically you tell the developers that it's what they built is not working or is not really good. And so for that, you need to have some good communication skills and kind of really build a relationship with the people. And so just interpersonal, I think if you look at any sort of problem that arises in projects, it is very rarely a strict technical problem. Most of the problems in the world are human problems. So if you look at that, the reason why something does not work is because some people don't get along with each other. So I think working really on the relationship level is an important thing. Then, when we hire people at House of Test, we test them very much on, okay, so what did you learn in life? We are very curious. We just want to know what do they keep their mind busy with. I can recommend you to be interested in a wide variety of things, not just what is specifically necessary for your job right now, but read in all sorts of areas, go through philosophy, go through everything that is interesting. It can be gardening, it can be, I don't know, building a parrilla, maybe that is useful. Maybe you can use some analogies from that to testing. Everything can be useful in testing. And so the continuous learning is super important, even if it's now the certification, it's like the ceremony tonight, but keep in mind that you just continue your learning path and never stop. It also prevents you from becoming old. If you keep your brain busy, then you don't become old ever. Yeah. Then that's maybe a tricky one. What I have observed in the market is that often it is easier if you have some level of foundation in software engineering. So if you know how to code and if you have a certain technical level, it often becomes easier just to get into a technical organization. It is an easier step. So if you don't have that now, it doesn't mean that you will not be successful without it, but this one will make your life easier. So if you also start to learn programming, and nowadays there are so many good platforms where you can actually learn programming, especially for testing. There is, I don't know if you know the Automation University. It's a website in the US. It's completely free, and it has absolutely excellent courses. And so I can give you, so if you're interested, approach me and I can give you the link for that. Good. So certification and specialization. So there are these like 5-letter certification organizations. I don't think they're very helpful in terms of becoming a successful tester. So it's kind of in 2013, we built an alternative organization, and if you want, you can have a look. It is a bit mocking the whole certification thing, where you do a course for 1 day, and then you do a multiple choice questionnaire, and then you are a professional tester. So that's, just compare that to you having been at the sales course for 1 year, 1 full year, or 2 years, or even 3 years, with something that is a course for 1 day or something. That's not the same value. Good. Now, that is the most essential quality that you need to have. Again, in projects, often it's quite tense, and you as a tester, you show where the product is not meeting the expectation, and you show where it's ugly, and you do that. It's basically your message often is not very welcome because it will delay the release, and people will be unhappy, and then they start to cry. And so basically, like, humor is probably a good idea to just act as the grease in the whole system, so that it doesn't get too much tense. So actions. I think there are some specific actions that you can do in your job and outside of your job. So one of them is that if you become a quality advocate and you're actually known in the company that you're really advocating for the quality of the product, and you try to put that into the whole team. And have that done in a more holistic way, not just that you do your job, but basically you say, so this is very important for us because we want to make our clients happy, and happy clients means money for the company, and it means the company is able to pay your salary. Then cross-functional collaboration. It's if you end up in an organization where you're not allowed to talk to developers, or where it's kind of basically where they put you on the side somewhere, that's maybe a good sign to find something else. Build relationships to all sorts of functions. So build it to the UX people, build it to the developer, to everywhere in the company. So the cross-functional collaboration is important. Then I think that is also a booster for your career. Try to find a mentor. I would recommend you to find a mentor outside of your company, just somebody who has been around for a while, and somebody who you can talk to on a regular basis, and just get some insights and some advice and something. I would get somebody outside of your organization, not in your organization. Get a mentor, and then also, if you can, build some communities. It's in Europe, we have a lot of organizations that do non-profit work just for the community. So they make events. There are a lot of testing and technical meetups where people just meet and network and get to know with other people. So that I can highly recommend building such a system and be very active in these communities. So you will build your network of people, and you will know more people, and more people will know you. Well, yes, read a lot. I think reading is a very good idea. If you can reserve some time of your day and have that like in your calendar, or you do it early in the morning or late, but that's like a fixed time where you just read new things and you just get your brain active with new ideas. That's a good idea. I don't know if you know Warren Buffett. He's an investor, and he's like one of the richest people on the planet. I think he spends 6 hours reading every day. Now, that works. If you have billions, it's very easy to spend 6 hours reading. I don't mean that you need to read 6 hours, but reserve you time that reading things. It's quite a good idea. then, well, that's a bit obvious, so stay current with current trends. I think what is super interesting is to find a way how to test non-deterministic artificial intelligence system. This is an unsolved problem. So there is nobody on the, I just claimed that, there's nobody on the planet who knows how to test large language models in a good way. And I'm very suspicious about the builders of the large language models telling me that they can guarantee that the large language model cannot reveal, let's say, a recipe for a biological weapon. And I think before in the talk, I think you also mentioned that, I'm not sure, that you have to be careful with you know, then you play a game and then the large language model can reveal something. Or maybe there is hard-coded, don't reveal anything that kills people, but then you just ask for a recipe that kills cows. And that probably also works with humans. So if you find out how to test artificial intelligence systems, you will become very rich. That's certainly an area. And the other one, which I also agree, is like the whole security aspect. I think the CrowdStrike event showed that, I mean, it's not a good idea to just have a little bug fix crashing the whole world. I saw a meme on the internet, which was a guy took a selfie on CrowdStrike. First day at CrowdStrike, I made a little bug fix, taking the afternoon off, and so. But that's we'll see. Okay, then. So this is a bit of a tricky one. I can highly recommend to start speaking at conferences. Now, this is, if you ask around in the world, then that's the greatest fear of people, to stand on a stage and speak to people. And they would never do that. Because also, from an evolutionary standpoint, this is like you standing in the open savanna. There's no place to hide. And there are 100 lions here that want to attack me. So that's what your brain tells you when you're on the stage. Now this is also it's a skill that you can learn, where you know that, okay, I will be nervous, but it's a good idea to still do it, because what I think is that when you talk at a conference about a subject, you really have to learn deeply about the subject, and people will get to know you, and you build your network and your personal brand. So if that's something for you that you want to consider, I can highly recommend that. So I think it's important to give back. So as soon as you raise in the seniority levels and you become very experienced, make sure that you help younger and more junior people to become successful and help them in their career. I think it's a very good idea for you to pass on your knowledge to next generations as well. Good, so we're at the end. This is what I want you to leave with as an advice. So Stanisław Lem, he's my favorite science fiction author. And when he was asked about his advice to humanity in general, that's what he said. He said, just relax and think a bit. I don't think you have to be tense, especially for now, because it's your graduation, and I stand in the way of the graduation ceremony. So I want to wish you good luck for your future, and thanks for inviting me to Uruguay. It's been a pleasure here. I enjoyed my time very, very much. Thank you.